But one of the things I like about that video is that he challenged his own belief system. I like the fact that he wasn't afraid to look at alternative perspectives while believing something else. Something tells me that this guy is closer to enlightenment than many people, because he's like, listen, God just makes sense to be one thing, makes sense as a creator instinctively, these things.
Yeah.
I actually think that there's, a lot of people, blessed are you, Bobby, then? Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction video. And in this one, we're gonna go into our request bin. Someone said we should do a reaction to Bobby's Perspective, which is a YouTube channel. And basically the video that we're gonna react to is kind of like his spiritual journey. I think he released this video about a year ago, and it's kind of like his journey through many different belief systems and how he arrived at where he is today. And I think he is now coming from a Muslim perspective. I think now he's arrived at Islam is kind of his thing. I watched pieces of this, so I know a little bit about it. This will be totally fresh for you.
Yep.
So this is a little bit of a lengthy one.
This is his experience.
Yeah.
This is a valid journey that a person had. So yeah, cool.
And because I have those eyes to see, I'm gonna read the Quran and dismantle it. Many Muslims during that time reached out to me via YouTube, many followers of mine are Muslim, and said, hey, give it a shot. I said, no worries. I'm gonna check it out and I'm gonna find the devil in your book.
Cool intro. Yeah. I like his intro. I've watched a few of this guy's videos. He's an interesting character. The name of this video is entitled, I Read the Quran as a Christian. I was shocked. That's what he entitled this video.
Cool.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Bobby. Guys, this video is long overdue. I read the Quran, the whole Quran, as a Christian. Yeah, I never believed myself that I will ever make such a video, but yes, I did read the whole Quran. Today I'm going to tell you about it, but before I start talking about it, I want to tell you a little bit more about myself in case this is the first time for you seeing me. I am a Christian Orthodox in fact. My parents are from the Balkans, from northern Macedonia, and I have been baptized as a Christian Orthodox from birth. Back then, Yugoslavia was still under communist rule, and therefore it was illegal for me to get baptized, so we had a priest come.
Humans are so weird. Like, there's a cute little kid being dunked into a pail, like everybody's like in ceremonial outfits, like pouring water on the kid's head. You know what I mean? Like if you had no reference, you'd be like, humans are, what are they?
Oh, yeah.
They're so weird.
Humans do. You turn the music or the audio off of many things that humans do and just let the video play, you'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Coming over to our flat that baptized me undercover, so to speak. So therefore all of my family members are identified as Christian Orthodox. However, most of them are not practicing like most people nowadays all around the world. People became very secularized and therefore they're not truly practicing Christians in that sense. However, as being Slavs from the Balkan, they of course identify as Christians. The Slavs on the Balkan are predominantly Christian Orthodox. That is due to the reformation of Kirill and Method under the Bulgarian Empire at the time. The Slavs used to be pagans, and Kirill and Method came and reformed the Slavs, so to speak, and brought Christian Orthodoxy from Byzantium over to the Bulgarian Empire. And the rest is history. Since then, the people on the Balkan are very identified culturally with their religions. Most people on the Balkan don't know much about their religions, however they went to church or went to the mosque and know that they are Christians or Muslims. Of course, this fuels a lot of conflict. For example, me as a Macedonian, I grew up hating the Albanians because the Albanians were our enemy. The Albanians were Muslims and they were our enemy. Of course, there is this big history on the Balkan that we were under the Caliphate, under Ottoman rule for over 500 years. That fuels even more anger against Islam, against Muslims. So
That's always going to be. It's always going to be a problem, right? If the country that you're warring with has another religion outside of yours, you're probably going to be pretty reluctant. I think you would probably
It's salt on the fire.
Yeah, you would like associate like it's got to be evil because they're the evil ones attacking us.
Yeah.
So
Gasoline on the wound.
Yeah.
I grew up like that. That being said, my parents, yes, they are from Macedonia, and every year we would visit. However, I grew up in Germany, in Nordrhein-Westfalen. In Nordrhein-Westfalen, we have a huge Turkish population. So I had a lot of Muslim friends, but at the same time I observed that most of those Muslim friends got into some sort of criminal activity at the time. Many of them were smoking weed, many of them were selling drugs, many of them were into prostitution, robberies, gang violence and whatnot. So my experience with Muslims was pretty negative after all, I have to say. Therefore I had no interest whatsoever to look into Islam. I was identified as a Christian and that's that. In my 20s I kind of let go of my faith and I dabbled in the new age. I started using psychedelic drugs such as mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca. I explored dietary venues such as veganism, which led me to Buddhism, Hinduism and other pagan religions as well. I got interested in the occult, the Mayan calendar and whatnot. I let go of Christianity for roughly a decade, I would say, and was identified as nothing, as pure consciousness, if you will. I was just Bobby, just doing my thing. I didn't want to label myself. I just wanted to live life. So I started traveling the world. 2014, I left Germany and I went to Australia, then Indonesia, then Thailand, then back to Australia and New Zealand, over to South America, Machu Picchu.
Bobby, what were you doing for a living? How do you get to see so much of the world?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I was everywhere. I went everywhere. Like how?
Yeah, do a video on that.
Yeah, I wanna
that's
know
what
how-
that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's yes. I want to do what you just did.
But I do want to say something. This is not the first time I've heard of people that did this path where they went off and they got into spiritualism or New Ageism, and exhausted that and returned to Christianity or Islam.
Yeah.
I've heard that story.
We just literally just did a video like a week ago. That Christian guy.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like the Muslims are praying for me and revealing things to me, and sometimes I feel like there's some Christians praying for me because I've been seeing a lot of this like, you can come back to it, you can repent of your ways and come back and find the solace in the Lord, you know.
Yeah.
And so sure, yeah, come on in, you know, Jesus right into my heart.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But I'm still me, I think.
Yeah. I'm a little jealous of all of his experiences.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
not-
Back to something that makes sense. That's cool, man. Look at that place.
Yeah.
In Peru and whatnot. I visited many, many places, many different cultures, saw different religions, and was convinced that religion is just that. Cultural norms that people adhere to, and I don't want to be part of that. I saw myself as above that, in a sense. I saw myself as the enlightened one that doesn't need any of that. Until I returned back to Europe, to Bulgaria, and I felt that yearning for God. And I felt empty. I felt broken. All of those things that I tried led me nowhere. I felt as if I had failed. I felt abandoned. I felt left alone. So therefore I sought God. Naturally, I returned to Christian orthodoxy, and at that time it felt like a homecoming.
Some of those churches are beautiful, man. We went to a Catholic.
Look at the robe that guy's wearing.
Cool. We went to a Catholic thing recently, me and you.
Yeah.
We should post a picture in the the community forum.
For our daughter's like graduation.
Yeah, but they would go to a Catholic school. It was all Catholic. The church looked beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's so much beauty in all in the artisticness and stuff like that. And sometimes I think as an outsider, I'm playing with a little bit of fire. Like people will be like, hey, don't talk about that if you ain't part of it, you know. But nobody else talks about it. I don't see people that go week after week being like, look at this Gothic church.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes it takes somebody that's a little bit out of it to notice some of that. Hey, appreciate some of the art you got surrounding you.
Yeah.
And the clothes they wear.
Yeah.
You know?
It felt like something that I used to know, but at the same time have never truly explored. As I said, I was identified as a Christian Orthodox, but I never really studied the religion. So now I return to it, and now I really want to know what's up. I really want to understand my own religion. So I started digging deep, and I found out about the Trinity. I already made a video about this. Guys, for 2 years I was battling with this thought, and I was trying to understand the Trinity, and I was trying to make myself believe the Trinity, but after all of those intentions have failed miserably, because I couldn't convince myself of a three-headed God. Didn't work. No matter how I looked at it, it just didn't add up, didn't make sense for me, and therefore I was quite surprised, honestly quite shocked, that my religion entailed that. This was a wake-up call for me, because I was seeking God in its unity, in its oneness, if you will, and not God as some sort of deity that I cannot comprehend. I always remind.
Because if something like the Trinity is true, it would be kind of like paradoxical. How can you be three separate entities while at the same time one, right? Some people, they have no problem with that. They're like, that's fine, but you can definitely see his, frustration with that.
Maybe something to help with people struggling with that deity 3-in-1 thing is this. Everybody kind of is a multiple personality. Everybody is. There's aspects of you. You can do studies on people who have had like stroke victims and stuff like that, or if you do surgery on the brain, there's a parts of your brain that are autonomous, that are outside, that you'd be like, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. What is that? There's identities in you.
Yeah.
Even a normal person. I'm not talking about like a multiple person with alternates, like whatever the disorder is that causes that. That's a different thing. That's more extreme. But in any normal person, there is a multitude of identities within you. It's not just one thing.
That can be triggered by emotional state or circumstance or things like that set you off or make you act a certain way. Is that
that have their own desires and sometimes even their own beliefs about life. Aspects of you. It's like a tribe within. So maybe that would be helpful to somebody trying to understand the Trinity. It's like, you're not just a Trinity. You're like a many. You're a we, not a I. And people go, no, that can't be the case. But I'm pretty certain about that. Again, that's just kind of a belief and a thought. Could be wrong. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Myself of the saying, your God is not a God of confusion. So it was very confusing to me, after all. Hence, for the very first time in my life, I considered, you know what? I'm gonna read the enemy's book, the Quran. Why not? Because I started watching David Wood videos. And David Wood was so confident in his message that Muhammad was this degenerate guy and Islam was this evil religion coming from Satan himself. The biggest deception known to mankind. The real Antichrist is Islam. So I got convinced even more about my own faith. I became arrogant, pompous. I said, God brought me back to orthodoxy, the real religion. He brought me back to the truth. And now I can truly see that Islam is from the devil. And because I have those eyes to see, I'm gonna read the Quran and dismantle it. Many Muslims during that time reached out to me via YouTube. Many followers of mine are Muslim and said, hey, give it a shot. I said, no worries. I'm gonna check it out and I'm gonna find the devil in your book. So I opened the Quran and I started reading. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the merciful. That was surprising to me. It really was. I know to most Muslims this is simply common sense. They're wondering what I'm talking about. But for me as a Christian, I didn't remember a page in the Bible that addresses God like that first. I kept on reading and I noticed that every surah, every chapter starts like that. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the merciful. and I was impressed. I thought, yeah, that makes sense. You should address God first, you should give praise to the Lord first, before you start talking about Him. That makes sense. I couldn't find anything like that in the Bible. Now, I don't want to discredit the Bible, because the Bible is very, very different than the Quran. The Bible is more like a library and not so much like one book. The Quran, on the other hand, is exactly that. The Quran is one concise book, one main...
My only real contention, I guess, with what he would be saying here, and I'm not picking one side or the other, is this, that, like, I've read parts of the Bible, and I know you have too, so I've actually probably read the entire Bible. But there are many scriptures inside of the Bible that talk about the mercy and the grace and the love of God. Like,
Right, but you've read the Quran too, though, haven't you?
I've ear read the entire thing.
So
and
does
I've
every
read-
sudra or whatever he called it?
Does it? I can't.
We have one right here.
I do have one right here. What do you? So here's one I can open up one third. Alam.
In the name of Allah, the gracious and the
Oh,
merciful.
okay, at the top there, underneath the highlighted area. Okay.
And what he was saying is that made sense to him to kind of in this manner acknowledge God before you start. You know, I like the distinction he made between the Bible and the Quran. That the Bible is a library, and that the Quran was, because the story of the Quran, right?
Yeah.
Don't let me butcher this. Don't let me be disrespectful here. I'm not trying to be. But as far as I know, the Quran is that Muhammad the prophet was dictated to what he was to write, and he wrote.
I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right, and I'm sure you guys will correct
And
us if
so-
we're wrong.
That's like, you know, that's how that book works. It's a one compilation of God's word to him, and that is very different. You know, the Bible's got parts of it that are like that, where, you know, it was inspired by God, or this person was...
Well, if you're a Christian, you would say that the entire Bible is inspired by God.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm getting a strong sense here. I'm just becoming aware from my, you know, divergent mind. The thing that I'm focusing on is this notion of certainty. This notion of I did this, and this, and then finally certainty came, and this is how it is now and what is.
yeah.
People are obsessed with certainty. It seems to me.
Yeah, and there's much I would like to say about that, and I don't like to be... I think that... Is it possible that it can be both? That you can rest in not knowing while at the same time be certain about something? Or what if reality is set up in such a fashion that some people, like this guy, have to have it their way in order to make sense of it, while others can reside in a realm of, that's good for you, and
You nailed it. Bingo. And you know why I know that that's true? Because that is what's happening. That is the case. That's how I know it is to be. Ordained by God. Accepted in His will. That there is both us crazy guys who wear a thong on their head and wear crazy vibrant shirts and talk about God knows what. And then people that come along with a strong sense of certainty and order. You know, it is both. It is both. I am the cosmic jester. I am here to be the antithesis of order.
All right, let's keep going.
Manual, if you will, much shorter than the Bible. The Bible is a diverse variety of different books, of different advices, and doesn't even claim to be the Word of God at all times, but much more a compilation of divinely inspired books put together by the Church Fathers. And that is fine. The Bible itself is an epic tale with an abundance of knowledge. It's absolutely beautiful to read. However, the Quran is much more concise, much more simplistic, if you will, even repetitive, I have to say. But nevertheless, the message is crystal clear. By reading the Quran...
I love that he said that. I love that he added that part. Even repetitive, I have to admit.
Yes.
Yes. It's good that he's honest.
itself, it doesn't posture up or pose as something else. It simply says what it is. It comes as a guidance. It comes as a clarification for those that want to see. Again, Very, very powerful, I have to say. So I continued reading. So devote yourself to the religion of monotheism, the natural instinct Allah, God, has instilled in mankind. Yet again, simple but powerful. It rings true to me. It makes sense that we have a natural disposition in which we seek God. I think anybody can relate to that. When you were a child, most of us, we knew that there was a God. The oneness of God was crystal clear to us. We didn't think about other deities. We didn't think about a three-headed God system. With this, I already agree. I want to make that very, very clear here. I do not believe in the Trinity yet again, even as a Christian. That doesn't add up to me. That doesn't make sense.
Now, I know that in Islam, monotheism is extremely important.
Is he a Christian?
No, I think he's Muslim now.
Okay.
He's Muslim now. And I think this is kind of like his story from transitioning from one to the other.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, I think monotheism in Islam is extremely important. And I think people in Islam, they gravitate towards that oneness of God. Mm-hmm. Although they see it as kind of like dualistic in respects that its creation is completely separate from the creator. Now, like to be fair, I think for Christians, like, although he doesn't get it, he doesn't understand the idea of the Trinity, Christians still believe that God is one thing, that God is one.
Right.
And
so
Hindus,
they consider God they're monotheistic.
They're monotheistic.
Yeah.
Jews, Hindus, even though they have a zillion gods, still at the end of the day, it all comes from one source.
Right.
It's all one. And then if you want to go into straight up flat non-dualism, that God is more one, I think, than everything inside of non-dualism.
Right.
Because God is God. It only is God.
Right.
God is the only thing there is.
There's nothing but God. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all one.
You're right. It's almost like it's irrelevant how we feel about God, what we grasp or what we don't grasp, or what we believe or what we don't believe.
Yeah.
It's kind of irrelevant, other than when you introduce the story that no, it's super relevant, because if you don't believe the right way, you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
That's where it gets relevant. Otherwise, it's sure, why not? Why can't God be the butterfly that landed on your shoulder?
Yeah.
Why can't God be in all things? It only becomes a problem if you add the caveat, it's a problem. No, you don't get it. It's a problem.
Or
it's
better
a problem.
see it. You better see it my way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes an issue.
Yeah. All right.
Otherwise, there's no issue. Why not? Why can't God be one thing or 1,000 things?
Therefore, when this natural predisposition is described within the Quran, it resonates with me and it makes sense. Even in Hinduism, you have the Brahmin. The Brahmin is the Godhead, and out of that Godhead, all the other deities come forth.
Yeah.
In Christianity, we would call it angels and demons. The Muslims would call them jinns. However, the Hindus went down the path, similar to the pagans, of worshipping those deities and making gods out of them. But naturally, that doesn't make sense. The origin of all things is, of course, a oneness, is a singularity of sorts, so to speak, where everything collapses, where everything originates. Yet again, the Alpha and the Omega. This is crystal clear to us. I always thought that it's crystal clear to all Christians. I really didn't believe that Christians think about God in a Trinity, in a fashion of a Trinity. I don't think that anybody truly does anyways, to be honest. When you're praying to God, how do you imagine God? How do you think of God? How do you remember God? How do you even believe in a God that is three-headed, in a God that consists of three deities? That doesn't add up to me. Anyways, I continued reading. Whoever strives only for himself. Allah, God, is independent of the beings. And again I had to admit, powerful man, powerful. God is beyond all beings. He is not the creation. For me, naturally, instinctively, that is crystal clear. But moreover, as I said, I had psychedelic experiences. I went to the Amazon jungle and I drank the ayahuasca with the shamans, with the indigenous people in South America, and I experienced the oneness of God over there as well. God himself is beyond all.
Which is crazy. If I was able to sit down and have an interview with this guy, I'd like to hear about his experiences. It's amazing that, you know, he even, like, he's come back to, or he's arrived at Islam even after experiencing all that psychedelic experience, that oneness, because that's like a common theme within psychedelic experiences when people are talking about them, is that oneness.
Yep. And that actually led him to a fundamental religion.
I know that is like, because normally I would say that that's probably less common. That you probably don't see that.
Well, that's
as
what I'm
much.
saying. I do see kind of more of that these days. Maybe there's a great cattle call. Maybe there's a great, what is it called? A revival happening of sorts. You know, and people are coming back to Jehovah, Allah, you know, whatever those Abrahamic gods are.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's like this, like a cattle call back because the end is coming and we all got to get saved. Maybe. Maybe that's what's happening. Why not? This reality surprises me moment by moment.
Comprehension, God himself is beyond all beings. He is indeed the only reality. This is the way that I saw God, that I experienced God to this very day. Nothing else is real but God. And that already excludes a Trinity, and of course it excludes any type of being. Even the messengers of God, even though they are exalted figures, are nothing but that. Exalted figures, creations of the Almighty. That is crystal clear to me. And when I saw it in the Quran, I was shocked. Yes, I was shocked. Because Islam for me was a violent religion, a religion of the enemy, a religion of the devil, not a religion of the oneness of God. The oneness of God that everybody comprehends. Even my father, who is a Christian Orthodox, he doesn't go to church. He never read the Bible. When I ask him about God, he tells me that God is one, that God is the most powerful. He understands that too intuitively. And I am of the firm conviction, sue me, but that you don't have to be an intellectual in order to understand God. Intellectualism, study, doctor titles, all of that is fine here on earth in this creation, and you can impress other people with it, but instinctive understanding is embedded in you, and even a beggar can understand God within. That's how I see it. And therefore the Quran confirmed that. For me it was quite shocking, however, to realize after reading the Quran that most Muslims that I've met in my life, not all, but most Muslims that I met in my life, actually didn't follow the Quran at all. Actually weren't even considered real Muslims. The Quran talked about humility. The Quran talked against being boastful. The Quran talked about no compulsion in religion. The Quran talked about that God guides who He wills and that you shouldn't argue about faith. The Quran even talked about that everything will...
As a frequently boastful and prideful person, I'm interested about that, you know? That's a Christian thing too, you know, that pride is a sin and that you know, there's
Pride
almost
comes before the fall.
Yeah, there's something very egoic about bombacity, about, you know, like flashy. You're gonna look at me, and I'm gonna steal the stage, and I'm glitzy, and I'm prideful, and everything I say is right and arrogance, and all these things, right?
Yeah.
There seems to be a running theme that God doesn't like that very much. Do humans like it? Does anyone like it? Is it good for anyone other than the person that does it? You know? Let's think about that for a second. What can be said about that? Is it like, you're a fool? Silence! You know? But we wouldn't have fucking Michael Jordan if that wasn't for people who liked to steal the stage, and
Yeah.
people that didn't lean
Leaders,
right into
politicians, CEOs, people who leaders.
that. Yeah. Would it even be a
Literally.
sin if we all took turns? Like, all right, you be boastful for a second, and I'll go, oh, cool, you're impressive, and then my turn. Ah, look at me! Look at this golden hat that I'm wearing, bejeweled golden hat. Can we take turns, or is it only worth it or good if it's somehow bad?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
just
betting
an
the
odd
thought. I'm betting the
juxtaposition.
thought around here would be that that's something that should only be reserved for the Most High,
Which is God. So that means no kings, no kings of any sorts. That means no superstars. That sounds boring as
Maybe.
fuck. That sounds like a boring ass
Maybe.
situation.
Maybe not. That's not what it means. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe not. I just thought I would like crack that little thing open, you know, because I was like, my ego.
Be clarified once we are returned to God. Moreover, the Quran said that if God willed it, we all would have had the same religion. But God wills it otherwise. Most of us have different religions, and we argue and we debate and we discuss about it, but in the end we will stand in front of our Lord and He will clarify it for us. You don't take your religion to the other side, man. The religion is here for us to guide us, to make us better people. Once we face God, all of that evaporates, all of those human conceptualization ends, and we face the ultimate truth, the only truth, which is God, of course. Another powerful message yet again is, it is Allah's pattern, ongoing since the past. You will never find any change in Allah's pattern. That sentence really struck home because it showed the beautiful simplicity of the message. God's way is always the same. There is no change in the way, in the pattern of God. It is always the same, always accessible the same way. And that, of course, made me think a lot about my own faith and about Christianity. Thinking about the sacrifice of Jesus for us, Him being crucified so our sins can be forgiven, made me truly think about the people before Him and people that didn't hear the message, etc., etc. Out of a sudden, I realized that there must be a red line, a clear underlying reality that is always the same. Meaning that if you're alone in the jungle and you never heard about any type of religion, there must be this natural religion that is instilled within you, this understanding of the worship of one supreme being. That made all the sense in the world yet again. So now I've been rambling for...
I feel like in the Abrahamic religions, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think the answer to that question is that in the end you will be judged based upon what you knew.
Right.
Right?
You'll be judged by what you know.
And I think if God would, if according to Abrahamic religions, if God was just God, wouldn't it be based also upon like your experience mixed in with what you knew? Because how could you falsely judge someone based upon, you know, the experience that they had compiled with the knowledge that was given to them, right?
Right.
So
I like what he said, that religion is for here. I thought that was interesting when he was like, you don't take your religion with you.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. That's an interesting way to
well,
look at it.
seeing it kind of religion as a tool. It's a device that we use to
for something
connect.
in this plane of existence.
Yeah.
And that when you rejoin with Allah, when you rejoin the one, it's what kind of sense does that make? It's a unity.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Correct us if we're wrong.
for quite some time, and I still didn't clarify if I found the devil within the Quran. Guys, needless to say, I obviously didn't find the devil within the Quran, but I found many warnings about the devil. The Quran warns multiple times about the devil. It clarifies how sneaky the devil is, it warns you of the devil, and it glorifies God over and over and over again. Honestly, I tried to find the devil in the detail, but I failed. I couldn't find the devil within that scripture, no matter how hard I looked. Now, looking back, I really wonder where David Wood is getting his information from. It's quite interesting, because I was following David Wood for roughly 1.5 years, and he was so adamant in his work, warning all the people of bad Islam. But after reading the Quran, I couldn't find the devil in it. I couldn't find the evil in it that was proclaimed by all the Christian apologists. I couldn't find the maliciousness, the perversion within the Quran. I found a concise, clear message within it. So now, after giving the Quran...
Is the devil a winner or a loser? Is the devil the one that is losing? Think about this for a second. You know, the concept of the devil. What is devilry?
Yeah.
Because it seems
That's
like
a whole shebang in
it
itself.
seems like so often the devil is the one that is the enemy or the one that is losing, the one that is other. So you better be fitting right in, and you better be winning at fitting right in, or you're the devil. Think about it. That is correct. It's the diametrical opposite of group consensus and thriving and succeeding. That's what the devil's going to do.
To the perceived way of how people think it should be, or how a way should be.
You're a sneaky weasel. How dare you? What? Because it's novel? Because it's new? Consider that. Chew on that little thought for a second.
Yeah.
Is the devil not just whatever is other and the enemy and losing and fucking loser? Is that not exactly what the devil is? It's something you can easily demonize.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Something that's easy to demonize, that's the devil. You know? That's how I think people that believe in the devil
I have so many,
really think what the devil is.
I have so many things. Go watch our video, What is the Devil? Demons. We get lots of videos on that stuff.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up actually.
So much praise, you're probably wondering why I'm not converting to Islam already. Already become a Muslim, Bobby. I saw it in the comment section before, because I do have respect for the religion. Guys, as I said, culturally I'm a Christian Orthodox. I'm from the Balkan, I'm a Slav, and this is the religion that I was brought up with. In my heart, I know God is one. In my heart, I know that creation is creation, and the Creator is the Creator. Nothing can change that. The Quran confirmed that. It didn't change my mind. However, as I said, over the years I have been exploring many different ideologies. And by now, it is already 1 year in of me studying Islam. I have not only read the Quran, but I started reading hadiths, and I have looked into the different conceptualizations of God, into what Tawheed means, the Fitrah, and so much more. This time around, I'm taking my time. This is not an emotional decision. I have to learn much more about the religion and about the customs and the practices of Islam before I truly decide to change my whole religion. Because at the moment, I am in a very happy place. Intuitively, my natural religion is intact. Culturally, yes, yet again, I'm a Christian Orthodox. Intuitively, I'm following God's will. I'm following God's path, with no ifs and buts, with nothing surrounding Him, the only truth. Nothing changed about that. As I said, the Quran was a beautiful confirmation of exactly that. I will see where God guides me to. Until then, I welcome every single one of you in the comment section. Let me know about your faith. Let me know about your understanding of God. Let me know if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Hindu, or if you're Buddhist even. Let me know what your perspective is, and we can discuss it in the comment section. Alright guys, this is it for today's video. If you liked it, leave it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, guys, please do so. And if you want to support this channel, all the links are in the description box below. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, guys. Alright, this is it for today. A long one. As always, may God bless you all. Much love and peace.
pretty impressive that he was able to film that whole thing while driving.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever do that. Like,
that's what I was thinking,
Watch
too.
the road, Bobby. Watch it.
Yeah. That's what I was
But one of the things I like about that video is that he challenged his own belief system. I like the fact that he wasn't afraid to look at alternative perspectives while believing something else.
Something tells me that this guy is closer to enlightenment than many people, because he's like, listen, God just makes sense to be one thing, makes sense as a creator instinctively, these things.
Yeah.
I actually think that there's, a lot of people, blessed are you, Bobby, then.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not the case for some of us. Some of us are just, by life circumstances, are not built that way, and it's a little more complicated than that. But I think blessed are those that is how they can take God. It's pretty just like Occam's razor, the shit out of it till I found God. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. There's many things that, I've watched his video. There's lots of things I agree with, lots of things I don't agree with on his channel, but I follow him still. I find him interesting.
Yep.
So you can go check out his stuff on Bobby's Perspective. His good YouTube channel. And guys, if there's a comment that you'd like to leave on our page, maybe
we'll put a link in the description to Bobby's channel.
Yeah, maybe there's something you think that we're getting right or we got wrong, or you just want to chime in. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and everybody, until next time,
Stay spiritual.